within designers, because we are always working on so many things, deadlines and everything. There's always like a push for completing work, but we never pay attention to completing documentation. What's your take on how do you get into complete documentation?
Directed to
or anyone who's okay.
Can I take this up?
Sure.
So I think the question was, how do you build a culture of documentation? Am I right?
That's right.
See, the leader has to be on the top. One. Second, when I ask my team for documentation, I'm not asking for an additional task, right? Documentation is wrapping around the idea of creating product on the paper, which is already there in your mind, right? At least in the Indian ecosystem and everywhere, you build a product as you are building the product. Your PRD is never complete on day one, right? So when you put some quality time, and believe me, once you start, it may take 4 or 5 days. But if you are seasoned after 2-3 projects, right, it will take only half a day or a day, right? The second biggest advantage is if you are creating a product, documentation. By the time you complete the documentation, you will have business goal handy, you will have experience goal handy, you will have metrics handy, current metrics, and you will have the target metrics handy, which will make you a better designer. It will also shape your approach and how you will create your designs. So I would say, take the first step. I know there is a Figma guy standing here, but start the documentation, don't jump onto Figma, and even if you jump onto Figma, create a document over there. Like, we are not saying that, okay, you create a document in a Word file. It's just 1.5 page, 2 page of documentation. It helps a lot. It helps immensely shape the final product which you are designing.
We have one more question. This is Sucheta. So my question is to Gaurav. So in Flipkart, there are different business verticals, right? So being it flight, booking, or fashion, or furniture, or any other business verticals. How do you go about your design systems? Do you build different design systems for everything, or it's one single design system for whole of your Flipkart?
Yeah. I think the question is, how do you think about design systems in an organization that is into many kinds of verticals?
Right.
And do you think of them separately, or do you think of them as a unified design system? So I'll give you a generic answer, but I think the way to think about it is, what do you want to represent to a user? Right? And do you want to represent a unified view to the user? And in that case, you would create a unified design system that would cut across a lot of the verticals, but solve for the verticals separately. Right? The verticals may need different kinds of treatment, like the way you buy furniture could be very different from the way you buy clothes, for example, or the way you buy a mobile phone, for example. Yet solve for them differently. So, from a pure design systems perspective, I would say that a single design system across is a better choice, but solving for these individually is also needed. See, I think Srinath has also built tremendous verticals and set gold standard across.
I think this is being a challenge, and this is a real design problem for most of the again large consumer internet business. For Swiggy, there are multiple verticals, Flipkart, Paytm. So any points, Srinath? Mindful of the time, so a couple of points. One, of course, there's a collective conscious about where the design is heading, and you need to have certain components. Around 60-40 is the best rule, is what I figured out. Some of the experiences need to be purpose-built, and you keep them out, right? Because they may or may not see the light of the day, right? A consumer may behave a certain way, and you want certain design interventions, design components, right? That will enable that interaction. So keep it out of the system until then it's proven that people are reacting, behaving to that experience a certain way. And once you understand that that pattern is working, that component is working, then you quit to the larger design system. But of course, you start with the design system with basics, right? There's button, search bar, this, that, everything. You just need to start with the basics, but keep it at 60%. Design system at the end of the day is designed to make you move fast.
right? Like, if you put too much focus on design system, then I think it shouldn't become a crutch in the first place. So I think keeping the flexibility, keeping it purpose-built for some of these experiences is very important.
Thing happened, like, business guy comes and says, my thing has to look different from the entire.
It sounds logic to that, right? Like, that's why I said purpose-built. It's not necessarily, novelty is not the goal. Like, don't try to be novel and nuanced about some of these things. Like, but keep it very purpose-built. Understand what the purpose is. If your design interaction solves for it, go ahead and build it separately. Don't make design system the crutch for some of those ideas.
I think that's the tough job of a design leader, to wear that platform hat and to have an overview and an oversight on the entire platform. Every designer wants to do, like, make that feature unique and different. Every product manager wants the same. So it's, I think, a combination of the product leaders and the design leaders' job to ensure there is some kind of uniformity in the system, to convey a single brand to the customer that is coming on the platform, yet offer a nuanced view of different kinds of things that they're doing on the platform.
So sad this conversation had to end. I mean, मेरा खुद का दिमाग इतना ज़्यादा खुला है अभी. But guys, a huge round of applause for our panel.